America's taxman, the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, is cracking down on wealthy Americans believed to be evading tax by holding their money in Swiss bank accounts. The IRS has announced it's dropping a lawsuit against UBS Private Bank after the Swiss finance house agreed to disclose details of nearly 4,500 clients. Switzerland has long been under pressure from European neighbours to change its policies of strict privacy and secrecy in banking affairs. But the case means a major change in account holder confidentiality. Well, for more on this story, I'm now joined live from New York by the lawyer Bryan C. Skarlatos, who represents some of the people facing investigation by the IRS. Thanks very much indeed for joining us here. Now, can you put this in perspective for us? How much lost tax are we talking about? And just how much pressure was UBS facing to disclose the details of its clients?
We're talking about many, many billions of dollars of lost tax, as well as money that was taken out of the U.S. economy and put into Switzerland. So the IRS is looking at two things: getting a lot of money back in terms of taxes and penalties, but just as importantly, getting that money back into the United States economy, because now there's no longer any reason to have it overseas.
Is it fair?
When you talk about the pressure that was put onto UBS, it was incredible pressure. Yes.
Yes, carry on.
When you talk about the pressure they were putting on UBS, it was incredible pressure. They were going to put UBS out of business here in the United States if they did not get a settlement whereby UBS agreed to turn over this information.
But many of those clients putting their money into a Swiss bank account, which is deemed as a perfectly legitimate way of banking, how do they react to this now? Could they say this is foul play because, as far as they're concerned, what they were doing was legitimate?
Well, they're very, very upset with UBS. Now, it's not so much foul play because the IRS is only going after U.S. taxpayers who were not reporting the income and the bank account to the United States government or the IRS. People who are reporting correctly, the IRS has no problem with. So it's hard for these taxpayers to cry foul play, but they are upset with UBS because UBS instructed them how to do this, told them it would be okay, and then turned around and gave over their names. So there could be a lawsuit against UBS as well.
Now, what about many seeing this as a U.S., well, the U.S. itself attempting to force a change in other countries' banking laws? Some will say this is just a classic case of the U.S. interfering and bullying.
Well, there is no doubt that the U.S. does want to change other countries' banking laws with respect to bank secrecy. Really, this is a culmination of several events that's been a long time coming, really. When you look at the globalization of the economy, the computerization of data, and the need for increased transparency in international transactions because of issues relating to terrorism and money laundering and that sort of thing. Really, bank secrecy, Swiss bank secrecy in particular, and worldwide bank secrecy in general is becoming a thing of the past. So yes, the IRS and the United States is trying to change other countries' banking laws to increase transparency. There's no doubt about that.
What effect could this have on the Swiss economy? After all, it is mainly based on banking. What sort of a reaction are you getting, or is the US getting, from the Swiss bankers?
I get the feeling there's going to be a lot more emphasis on chocolate, skiing, and watches now in Switzerland. But it does affect Swiss banking because they cannot offer the same type of secrecy. I do get the feeling, though, that now Switzerland is turning its focus more towards the Pacific Rim, perhaps, and trying to solicit clients in those countries who are still looking for a certain amount of confidentiality. And you can still bank in Switzerland. It's just that you can't hide that information and that money from the IRS or from the U.S. government. But if you like to keep your money in Switzerland, you can do it.
Tax lawyer Bryan C. Skarlatos talking to us live there in New York. Thanks very much indeed for sharing us your views and explaining your point of view.